Okay, so as you can see, I've got the entire frame put into place, and I have all of the legs and the upper framing painted black. And you can see I made these legs, if you will, with just a 2x4 up here. That's primarily so I could, it was easy to raise the actual roof structure just by using these as poles and lifting it up. And it adds a little more stability this way. This wood was so heavy because it was still wet. I didn't want to run the risk of just putting a board up against it and relying on the screws that really don't have a ton of shear strength to support the weight of the structure, because it's all 2x4, it's actually pretty heavy. So I wanted the top structure to actually rest right on top of the wood, and that's just safer construction. So everything is painted black. You certainly want to paint everything black that your guest would see as they're walking forward, because you don't want that laser to be bouncing off of that and show that you have, bare wood up here or something light colored. And I've also painted the back side, even though no one's going to turn around and look at that. Again, you want as much dark as possible because you don't want that laser light being reflected off of any other surfaces but the fog. Otherwise it's just going to be too bright is my assumption, and then it wouldn't work as well. So now I'm just getting ready to mount the lasers. I want to mount the lasers first so I can do all my cable management. Secure the cables behind these legs so you can't see them, and then I'll drape the fabric over it. And the other thing I need to do, so I have this attic access to our loft, which is where I store a lot of Halloween stuff. I built this over the last couple of years. I'll go up here. So you can see there's a ton of storage up here for all of the Halloween and Christmas stuff. So what I have to do is just get out all of the stuff that I'm going to use this year. I even have this lift that I built that actually hooks up to a hoist down there, which is nice. If you got a bad back like me, then you don't have to try to lug heavy items down here. You just use the hoist. You put it on this platform and it goes down. It's kind of nice. But I have to get all of the stuff out of here that I need for this year's haunt, and that way I can move the frame over a little bit because I want it a little more centered in the garage. I mentioned before, what you can do is add something in the center of your room, like a white PVC sprinkler pipe or something like that. That way you can line up all your lasers directly in the center. That's what you really want. You want all of those lasers to be aligned in the center of the room. That way they're intersecting with each other exactly, and it just adds to the effect. So I just have this laser level that I use for construction type stuff, so I'm just using that as kind of a cheater. As you can see, it's just broadcasting that laser, and that's the reference line I'm going to use for mounting all of my lasers. And the reason I really need to use this, why it's important for me, as you can see, it's kind of an old house, but that's about 3/4 of an inch there, or less, maybe a half inch. Well, this is about 3.5 inches up here. And it's not the door that's off, it's actually the slab that's off. This the garage floor slab has settled about 3 inches over 60 years or whatever. So because of that, my frame is actually not completely level. It's off about 3 inches from one side to the other. And actually in this corner up here is even a little high, because at some point, we just bought this house a couple years ago, but at some point somebody poured a concrete ramp. So at first glance you'd probably want to take a tape measure and just go around everywhere marking, okay, I'm gonna go 18 inches up, no problem with all my lasers or whatever. But when you try to line them up in the middle, you're gonna be frustrated if your garage floor is off like mine. So the best way to do it is to use one of these lasers. If you don't have this, the nice thing about this is it's self-leveling. That's why it's gonna work well. If you don't have this, then really use that PVC, put a PVC pipe in the very center of the room, and then put a mark on it, a line that goes all the way around, and that way you can line your lasers up with it. Alright, so it's the middle of the day, so I've tried to black out my garage best I could, and I've got all the lasers mounted. And even with all that fussing with that construction laser, it's really difficult to get all of those beams lined up around the room. I'll turn the lights off for a second so you can see it a little better. But you can kind of see, sometimes if you line them up in the middle of the room, they don't exactly line up, 10 feet later. That's just because of the variances of how the lasers are tilted and everything like that. Not a whole lot you can do, but I'm not sure if it really matters when there's fog in here, so I'm going to test that out. So I have one of my trusty old foggers I'm going to heat up, but first I'm going to add some of this Pro Haze fluid. It's about 20 bucks on Amazon. But I'm also going to add some scent, some fog scent. Now, I first started using this stuff last year. I bought some haunted house scent. It makes a huge difference. It just adds that haunted house smell. And they all kind of smell similar. I have about 3. This one is Swampy Marsh. I figured it would go with the swamp theme. But it smells similar to the haunted house smell, which is just kind of a musty smell. And then I got another one for the cauldron, which is like a campfire smell, and that actually does smell a little bit like a campfire. But one of these little bottles will treat a gallon, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. Yeah, maybe I did a little more than half of that, but that's alright. Then I'm just going to kind of shake it up. And then I'll add that to the fogger. I'll get the fogger on and we'll see what this looks like. So you can see that there are some voids in between the lasers, but that's all right. With that swamp music in the background, it just really adds to the effect. I may add some additional lasers just to kind of seal the deal there, but this was so believable as a swamp where you couldn't see below that green laser line. It's completely different from anything I've ever done. I really, really like it. I think that all of the trick-or-treaters this year are really going to appreciate it, and I'm really, really excited for Halloween. Be sure you subscribe for future content. I'm going to be decorating over the next week here. I'll post a couple more follow-up videos, and I'll try to get some better video of that liquid sky effect. I just ordered some additional blue lasers, so more lasers are definitely better. More is better, is what I'm finding. And then I have a final scare that I want to show you guys. I think it's going to be really cool. Originally, I was just thinking I would do lights and sounds, but I couldn't resist. I want a really big final scare at the end of this, so stay tuned and I'll show you what that looks like.